My name is Pat. I'm one of the guides here in the Medieval Mile Museum in Kilkenny. One of my favourite artefacts is a piece of paper. This piece of paper. This is a contract from 1712 and it's signed by John Garrett, who was the mayor of Kilkenny. They believed at the time it was a good thing for wealthy people in a wealthy town like Kilkenny to give money to beggars. But from a beggar's point of view, this means Kilkenny is a great place to come. So to limit so that they could have some that they could give, but not so many that it became a problem, they employed a man called Lot Tarraway. And this is Lot Tarraway's contract. And Lot Tarraway has the job of being a whips beggar. His job of driving strange or unfamiliar beggars out of the town. And for this, Lot was paid 12 shillings and sixpence for this work. According to this order, the amount represented a quarter of the position's annual salary. So this is Lot's job contract, to beat beggars out of Kilkenny, so that only some remained, enough for the charitable to give and not enough to swamp the system.
So my name's Anna Hogan. I'm a tour guide here at the Medieval Mile Museum, and I've just finished my Masters in Irish History in Maynooth, and this is my favourite artefact within the museum. So this is a double effigy. It dates from about the 1350s, and it's really significant because, first of all, double effigies are very difficult to find. It's very hard to find a slab of stone that would come out of the ground large enough to fit two people on it. It's very rare that they actually survive for us to put in a museum. So this is a double effigy of William and Margaret Gore. They have their names inscribed here. And it's very significant because this was carved during the 1350s, which was the height of the Black Death in Kilkenny. So during the Black Death, they literally thought that this was an apocalypse. People were terrified, they thought it was God's wrath on them for sinning. Even if we read the annals of Friar John Flynn, he starts talking about if there's anyone left alive in the race of Adam who can finish his work, then do so now. Presumably afterwards he has died. And they chose to have a very significant symbol in this. So it would have been quite typical for double effigies to have their hands clasped in prayer as a final sign of piety to show their value to go up to God. But they have their hands by their sides, they're not even touching, as a sign of unity. This is very significant because they could have used this to, a final chance to get in good with God, but they chose each other and they chose to be united as they faced what they would have considered to be the apocalypse. I think it's very significant, and you can see a lot of this referencing the Black Death in this as well, because she has a bundle of posies underneath her chin. So they're very aware of what was happening. I think, particularly in our current circumstances, I think this is very nice to display a united front.
Hi, I'm John Halpin, and I'm one of the tour guides here at the Medieval Mile Museum, and I want to share with you my favourite exhibit in the museum. My favourite exhibit is 3 Lives Lived. Now, the story here is a simple one. About 3 years ago, 4 nearly now I guess, they were bringing in a new electricity supply into the building here for our new museum. And when they were working out at the front gate, they got down about a foot or two and they found, I believe, 21 skeletons buried out at the front. Of the 21, they took the 3 best, the 3 that were in the best condition I should say, and they sent them away to Dublin to be analysed. Now we got them back last year, so last year was their first year to be exhibited here at the museum, and I just loved them because these were the ordinary people of Kilkenny. These were the non-merchant class people. Now the fact they were buried outside the church would be a strong indicator of their social status at the time in Kilkenny. But I love the stories, or at least what I imagine to be the stories of their lives. The story of the 45-year-old woman who, at 45 years of age, at that time, would be the equivalent of us getting up to about 120 today. And how she had stress on her lumbar and on her spine, and they think this might have been from carrying heavy weights. Now, that just adds to the whole image of the hardship. You can envisage this poor woman working hard. And I have my own theory, I'll tell you at the end. And the middle girl, she's 13 years of age. She's a year away from being married. And I often point out to some of our school tours when they come in, there was no drive-through McDonald's and gummy sticky sweets in those days. If you look at her teeth, she's got a Hollywood smile. But she would have been a year away from being married. Let that sink in for a second. She would have been married by the time she was 14. And then the other lass beside her is a 19-year-old girl. And we know at some stage in her life she sustained a broken arm and also had a skull fracture, which apparently didn't kill her. The one commonality between all three is they all had very poor nutrition. Probably would have never tasted meat in their lives, which is too expensive. Anyway, that's my favourite part of the museum, is the exhibit on the 3 lives lived, and I hope you come in and see me and we can talk about it in further detail. Thank you very much.
Hi there and welcome to the Medieval Mile Museum. My name is Sharon and I'm standing here today in the Kilkenny room, and the Kilkenny room houses all the civic artefacts that go way back to the medieval period. It's an amazing room and I'm going to look at one particular item in the Kilkenny room today, and that's this little area right here. And in behind this box, you can't really see it that well because of the light shining, but if you are in here you will be able to read it. And it's an order form or a letter or whatever you'd like to call it. And it was an order for gunpowder to be supplied to the musketeers in Kilkenny in 1649. And it was ordered by Mayor Roth because we were having a very important visit from the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, James Butler. And he was coming here. There was great excitement and pomp, and you could imagine all the people lining the streets. But what did they need with the gunpowder, we ask? We don't really know exactly what they needed with the gunpowder, so our imaginations can run wild. I'd imagine maybe the musketeers were going to fire shots into the air while he arrived in, as celebration, or maybe it was for his protection, because shortly after he took part in trying to stop Cromwell from invading Ireland. And unfortunately, it didn't go too well, and he had to flee near the end of that year to France to escape, to save his own life. I do hope you like that little story. There's lots more to see, and I'll talk to you soon.